Welcome to another episode of the Bamboo Season Podcast. I'm your host, Sober Wellness Coach Dorian Warmsley, and I want to hit you with a reminder that if you're looking to take back your power and take back control and change your drinking habits for the better, I have a free webinar on September 17th on Zoom. So if you're not in Vegas, you're in Texas, California, you can still join. We're going to talk about achieving sobriety, the psychology behind it. Free webinar. I'll put the link in my bio. Now, speaking of sobriety, it is National Recovery Month. And today's guest is not only 6 years sober, but he's been 6 years since he got out of the tunnels under Las Vegas and changed his life. And now he's changing the community here in Las Vegas, helping others in need. He is an outreach director at Shine a Light, Director of Community Engagement at Crossroads of Southern Nevada. I bring you Rob Banghart.
How you doing?
What's going on, Rob?
I have to hire you for those intros from now on.
Oh, thank you, man. Some people ask if I have scripts. I don't. I kind of just go off the heart, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think when you talk on being authentic, it flows how it should.
Yeah.
And without caring about if you fuck up or not. You know, there's no right or wrong.
No.
So I'll give a little background of how we met. For the listeners who don't know, last year through Julie Kane.
Yeah.
Shout out to Julie Kane. Love you, girl. She's amazing what she does in the community. I met her when I was a coach at Orange Theory. She used to come take my classes, and she reached out to me. She saw the work I was doing with wellness and sobriety. She's like, "You need to come check out Shine a Light." And last year I went out there, went with you and Paul and everybody, and we went under the tunnels.
Yeah.
With batteries, food, and went under the tunnels of Las Vegas and walked all the way in there, and it was a life-changing experience,
What'd you think before? What was your thoughts leading up to it?
My thoughts leading up to it, just based off the things I've seen on like YouTube or social media of the people living under there. But honestly, I went with an open mind because as a kid, I was homeless at one point.
Yeah.
Me and my mom, we lived in motels, and she used to live in the shelter. So I knew it was something that I needed to see, and I'm all about helping people in any capacity I can. And like I said, it's one thing to be homeless and live in motels, but it's another thing to live under the tunnels and be in tunnels.
There's definitely degrees to it, but I think I always go back to the same thing that it's, homeless is homeless, right? Like If we think about it in a general way, the same feelings, right? Maybe being in the tunnel is a little bit worse, but that those feelings of insecurity and disassociation and not a part of, and the lack of security and the randomness, like that's a homeless feeling that you feel regardless, right? And 7 out of 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So 7 out of 10 people that you know are paycheck or two away from in that same scenario. You know what I mean?
Damn, 7 out of 10. So that car breaks down.
Yeah.
They got to decide, am I getting the car fixed? Or am I going to be evicted next month?
Yeah, and the housing prices and all that, the economy that we live in today, I'm sure that number will rise, unfortunately.
No, yeah. So let's get into a little of how you got into the tunnels. What were the actions or things that happened? Who is Rob Banghart? Tell me a little about your background.
So I'm a lifelong heroin addict.
Okay.
I was used heroin since I was probably 14 years old.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, many other things along the way.
Yeah.
Drinking was a big part of my story early on, but eventually heroin was what took me into the dark spiral. But I worked in kitchens for a long time, so I had these jobs that made it seem like I was okay because it was acceptable behavior to a certain degree. And, eventually it wasn't anymore as it got out of control. And I had come into sobriety for a while and just stopped doing the things, right? Lost the discipline, right? Lost the gratitude for the life that I was given, and relapsed, and within a month I was homeless. So I had never been homeless. I had grown up in a home. I'd always had, stable living for most of my life. There was some outside things that happened, divorces, and my father had overdosed when I was young, but he wasn't in the house. He wasn't in the picture, so there was things, but it wasn't nothing that should have derailed me. I could have made a good life, you know what I mean? But I have it, so.
What, and you're from Las Vegas?
Actually, I was born and raised in New Jersey. I grew up in a small town in northern New Jersey. I came out here when I was 23. I was the geographical, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I had gotten out of prison, and I was I was certified as an adult really young, And then when I got out, I was up to doing the same stuff. And for me, what happened was the police started pulling me over, but they were trying to help me because it was a small town. They knew me, and they would pull me over, do the felony stop, do all the things, but then they would talk to me and be like, "Listen, you can change your life," and try to connect me. Like they were really trying to make an effort. I couldn't hear it, but they were trying, and so I did a geographical, and I came out to Vegas because I thought I was going to come out here and change my life. And I love Vegas. I'll never live anywhere else in my life, but if you're not trying to do the right thing, as we all know, this can be a really evil place. You know what I mean? But I came out here not trying to do the right thing, but I was still able to maintain. Like I said, I was working for some really nice restaurants. I worked for Wolfgang Puck. I worked for Emma Lagasse. I was assistant banquet chef. You know what I mean? So I was building a career.
Yeah.
So the surface looked kind of shiny, but my home life was miserable. I had gotten married. We had a daughter, and I was barely around. I was not a happy camper, not a happy person to be around, not a positive role model to anybody in my life. And then, it fell apart from there. I ended up getting arrested, did my first stint in recovery, and then, like I said earlier, relapsed and was homeless, and I was homeless for about 5 years.
What to track back? So you're from New Jersey, and you said the first time you used was 14. What was going on in life around that point to bring that up, or who brought that around? Was it, you said it wasn't in your family, I think, right?
Yeah, so I have alcoholism in my family, 100%. Oh, no. My father, my uncles. But for me, what it was that, like we talk a lot about in recovery, about the aha moment, right? When I that first drink that made me feel a part of, and I didn't really have that experience. That wasn't me. It was always around, not in my home, but the neighborhood, the people I was around. I was comfortable around certain things. I used heroin for the first time when I was 14. So like I didn't really have the aha moment. I knew that I liked it. You know what I mean? I knew that I wanted to do it again, but by that point I was already drinking occasionally. I was already smoking weed. I was always acting out. You know what I mean? At that point, it was a lot of acting out was really what it was for me. Behavioral. It was, not wanting to listen. And, I always share this story. My mom remarried to a man who is my dad. He raised me, and he put up with me. You know what I mean? He's an angel to me and I've thanked him more recently, but he put up with me when I was so ungrateful, even at a young age, 5, 7, 8 years old. I was angry at him for my dad leaving.
Wow.
The insanity, right, of my addiction. I've got resentments against people for nothing. You know what I mean? My perspective is off at a very young age. And like, I don't know that you're supposed to have a ton of coping skills at that age, but what drew me, what excited me was anger, acting out, the chaos. I created it. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't really there. Like he was learning how to be a dad, but he was a good man.
Yeah.
He had his own ways, well, no doubt, but like it wasn't like he was some horrible person. No, he was working his butt off trying to provide for his 2 kids that he just inherited with, you know what I mean? And my mom's doing the same thing, and they've got us in a house and we're safe, and like I had opportunities. You know what I mean? I believe that I was born alcoholic. That's my fear. Like I was restless, irritable, and discontent my entire life. I never felt a part of. Never.
Oh, wow.
Never.
And then, so from there, you just mentioned you went to prison in Jersey.
Yeah.
What happened there to get you sent to prison? How long were you in prison for?
So I was caught with a certain amount of weight of heroin.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you selling or using all the shit you had?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
all of it. All the things that we do, and I don't really share that story because I think it's, impactful. It's just it's a consequence of being an addict, right? But for me, it was like, that's pretty traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
I was 17 years old. I went to prison. I was certified as an adult. I was in a van chained to other older men with tattoos, and I've got a baby face, and I'm scared. I mean, as scared as I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough to make me stop. You know what I mean? Like that's the definition of my addiction for me. That knowing all that, I couldn't stop. I was powerless, completely powerless.
And how long did you end up serving?
3 years.
3 years, so from 17 to 2021.
Yeah.
Damn, you grew up in there for a second.
Yeah.
And so after that, you got out. You said around 23, you moved here to Vegas.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the idea was, let me get out of this environment, kind of change my life around if I go to Vegas.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned things were, kind of good at first. You got the job and all those things.
That's the illusion, right? That's the illusion that things are good. And we talk about, the catastrophic word maintaining, right? If you're an addict, like I'm an addict, there's no maintaining, right? There's just times when it looks better than other times because it's an internal thing, right? Like I'm a low bottom addict, alcoholic. I'm a low bottom homeless, prison jails. I've done like 9 years of my life incarcerated, but none of that's outside circumstances. The addiction lies in my mind, right? In a separation from a higher power for me, right? So if it's a mental health, my perception was always off. Why was my perception off at 5 years old? Some things happened. Yeah. I had a loving family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I gravitated, my perspective is off. I'm gravitating towards the chaos at a very young age. And if I'm gravitating towards chaos, what do? I seek relief. So that's why I believe that I was born this way. You know what I mean? And it was always a square peg in a round hole. It doesn't matter what we're talking about, at what age, it was always like that. On the outside, my mom will tell you I was a happy kid because I was. Sometimes, outwardly. Inside, I was miserable, uncomfortable, fearful, you know what I mean? All the things. And that's mental health, right? The shame of mental health. Not that my family shamed me in any way. They didn't know what they were dealing with, right? I didn't know what I was dealing with. So I dealt with mental health most of my life.
And so once you came to Vegas, what transpired led you to go into the tunnels and start living there?
So that we would fast forward. I held it together, again, very loosely, and that's the word I'll use. But I had come in, tried a particular pathway in recovery. It worked, but a lot of things had come back really quick. My ego returned very quickly, and I thought that I was doing it. I had this under control, and I stopped doing it. And I had gotten asked to speak at a meeting on my 3-year anniversary. I have no idea why. I hadn't been to a meeting in a long time. And that night I went home and I got high. It was just, my head was so loud I couldn't shut it up anymore. And within a month I was homeless. I had been remarried in sobriety. I had another child. So I had told her, if I get high, run. You know what I mean? Just run. I know the kind of addict I am. And she did. She left. And within a month, like I said, I had apartment, cars, the whole 9 yards, the whole life. And it was all gone. And I started to do my homeless journey was kind of like my addiction. It was very progressive. It started out on the surface, kind of in camps and, maybe a couch once in a while. And then I tried the shelters a little bit. And then I lived on Four Master when it was actually Four Master before all the services were down there for better part of a year. And then I lived up by the rescue mission for probably 2 years. I lived in the Moulin Rouge.
Really?
For like 2 years. While they were tearing it down, I was there.
Oh, shit.
That's my claim to fame in my homeless journey. And, we can joke about it today, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing funny about it. But, and while I was there, I had, met somebody. They told me, hey, come with me. I went with them. They introduced me to what would be my tunnel for the next 2.5 years. And I can remember looking at that tunnel and thinking to myself that very similar to the feeling that I have today when I go home to my apartment with my fiance and my stepdaughter and our cats and my life. You know what I mean? It was that, but just on the polar opposite, right? I had found somewhere that I could go and use and not be bothered and not just go away, right? Like that was like that last little piece of disassociation from the society.
So you said somebody came to you when you were at Moulin Rouge.
There's another person that I was homeless with.
Okay, and they were like, hey.
Yeah.
Let's go to this.
I think they said something like, let's go get high. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And they took me to their tunnel.
And then you were just like.
Yeah.
Like
started talking and started vibing with them, and then I was in.
Wow. At any point, you said you were in there for how long? 2.5 years. 2.5 years in the tunnel?
Yeah.
And at any point, did you think about getting out of there during that 2-year period? You were kind of like, any thoughts of that came to your mind? Like, hey, I kind of want to.
I think there was periods of time when I thought about it for sure.
Yeah.
But I think by the end, probably the last year that I was out there, I'd given up hope on any of that.
Really?
I just accepted that this was my life, that I was going to die out here. I stopped. There was always that part of me that had the pipe dream that someday I would. But at that point, I knew where resources were. I knew where to go. You know what I mean? And I couldn't. When I relapsed, I told myself very vividly, I said, I'm going to use as long and as hard as I can, like I was going to break it, like it was a wild horse or something.
Yeah.
Because it had been on me for so long. I was so miserable being me for so long, and I couldn't kill myself, right? Directly, anyway, and I couldn't figure out. I just didn't know a solution. So there I was, and I was 4 years into my homelessness. I'm like, this isn't stop. It's not. And I'm like, I just gave up. And it's like, I'm gonna die out here, and I really hoped for it. Like I'd overdosed probably 10, 15 times, 15 times.
Just about to ask that. Wow.
So, I mean, I'd never bought fentanyl. I wasn't a guy that ever went up and said I want fentanyl, but I'm pretty sure that I did it towards the end, obviously. And so I'd have like these violent overdoses where I'd wake up in the hospital, or I'd wake up, and then be out of it for 3 days. You know what I mean? And there's this thing, if you're a heroin addict, I think most people experience this when you overdose, is that when I was coming to, before I was cognizant of what was going on, I was already telling them, why'd you do that? Why'd you wake me up? Because
Oh, wow.
I wanted it to be over.
Damn, Rob.
Yeah, well, that's what it is, right? The heroin addiction was so bad for so long. And not that you have to be doing it for so long for it to be bad, but like, I just wanted it to be over, and I couldn't kill myself. I couldn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't the guy that was going to go buy a gun and shoot himself. Like, that's just not me, you know what I mean? Like, but my mental health was deteriorating to a point where I just gave up. Like, me and you lived in the same world, but not at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, and I was living underground, just praying that I wouldn't wake up. Like those foxhole prayers are like, please, please. And I'd wake up every morning pissed off that I woke up.
Oh, wow. And in those tunnels, is there any like misconceptions that you heard of people who are in those tunnels?
I mean, I always go back to the same thing, right? Like, first and foremost, they're human beings.
Yeah.
And they're in crisis, right? And they're in horrible situations of mental health, substance abuse, life situations, whatever it is. And there's I always, for some reason, the word that it's always gravitated for me personally it was very primal, right? Think about your life today, and it's planned. It's Google Calendar. It's where I got to be, because you have hope.
Yeah.
And possibility. Possibility and hope allows you to plan for the future. I never had that. So for 5 years, I lived in what's next. And that's it. And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, didn't watch TV for 5 years. Didn't know what was going on in the world for 5 years. Didn't use a clock. Didn't use a phone. Didn't eat 3 hot meals. Didn't take a shower. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on, right? Like, of all the things that peeled back from my life. And I say this with love because I'm kind of sarcastic, but like, I almost felt like a caveman, right? And I use that analogy because I'm a visual learner. I need, but it's like, but I'm a human being. I'm somebody's brother. I'm somebody's father, somebody's uncle, right? Like, and it's the same for everybody out there, and we need to look at them with a lot less judgment and understanding. You know what I mean? For sure. Because they're just as much a part of our community as anybody else.
I remember when I went out there to volunteer, and you did use that word, and you said that you about how it's primal, and you were saying how'd you say it? I think you said how people, when they're in there, it's complete darkness. It was dark. I was low-key scared at one point, but you said how people kind of learn to move in the darkness.
Yeah. There's a tunnel that we go to every on my route that I've done now for 6 years.
Yeah.
And there's one particular tunnel that I don't have to use a flashlight, because even as a volunteer, I know it well enough to walk it, right? So now imagine, like, go home tonight, turn off all the lights in your house. Can you walk to your kitchen from your bedroom? Can you walk to your garage from your bedroom? You will eventually learn how to do it over time, easily, right?
Yeah.
Like, no big deal. It's the same thing down there.
Oh my God.
Same thing. And not that they don't have flashlights. Of course they do, but you have to be prepared if a battery dies or something happens. And you know what I mean? It's definitely a different world in a sense, but they're human beings. And you've seen it. They're friendly. And
no, the lady had cats and everything. And wow. And when you were there during that 2 year period, 2.5 year period, is it down there like a more community feel, like you guys are in it together, or was there like violence and beef or anything amongst each other?
Every tunnel is different. It's like neighborhoods, the same. It's just very different. Yeah. And not all tunnels have communities. Some are just a couple random people.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen them all. There's 600 miles of tunnels in the city, so they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And mine in the beginning was communal, and I use the analogy of Lord of the Flies. So anybody that came from outside we were suspect of and protective of, but internally there was also chaos, right? You're still using drugs. You're still, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things going on, but I saw a lot of violence. Like, I think you just see that being homeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always share this story. I was maybe 3 years homeless, whatever, walking down Las Vegas Boulevard by Washington. There's a mortuary right there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's dark. It's nighttime. I look, and I hear cling, cling, and I look to my left, and I see 3 people fighting with swords.
What?
Like full-on sword fight, cutting each other. And I looked at it, and I just looked away. Like, it didn't even shock me.
Oh shit.
It's like trauma, right? Like PTSD almost, because you just you see so much randomness out there that it doesn't really. It takes a lot to shock you. I lived right behind, on the other side of that Veterans Way, behind that library. On the curb, there was a bunch of us tented up on the curb, and one night I'm sleeping, and I hear this loud bang, and I just get my tent open as a car goes by. The curve was kind of like inside. The car bounced, and it missed everybody. Went down, hit a power box. All the lights went off. Everything in the neighborhood goes black.
Oh shit.
Like, that was one night. That sword fight was one night. I was out there for 5 years. That's what, 1,800 days.
Yeah.
And you're out there 24 hours a day. And you never know. Who is it? Like, there was when I was by the rescue mission, because my tunnel was also right there too. So that's where the majority of my time was. There was a mentally unstable person killing people with hammers, homeless people with hammers. I was walking to my tunnel with a friend, and who's now since sober, and the cops had set up like I call it a potato sack, some kind of airbag with a blanket and a pair of boots, and da da da. My buddy walks over and he kicks it, and the cops come out. They ended up catching the guy shortly after that.
Oh damn.
That's like, but those stories, like, that's the randomness. Like, nobody knows, nobody watches you. So when you're out there, people will disappear, and of course, you know, you're in your psychosis. Oh, they got killed. They got this. I had a friend out there that's also now sober, living in Utah. She got picked up on some warrants that she had.
Yeah.
They took her back to Utah. She got sober. I talked to her randomly once in a blue moon. She's doing well.
Oh wow. That's good.
Because nobody knows. Like, that's just the point of that story, right? Nobody knows how many people are out there, who they are, what they're up to. Like, people died in my tunnel. I mean,
Damn.
yeah.
And what was so you were in there for 2.5 years?
Yeah.
What was the point or event that caused you to finally want to get out? Or hold on, even before that question, during that 2.5 years, were there people that, kind of like how your program is now, Shine a Light, were there people that came and tried to get you out, or kind of came and offered help?
I never saw anybody in my tunnel ever.
Really?
Not one
Oh
time.
wow.
It's kind of like that, one of many reasons why I'm super passionate about this work. You know what I mean? And there were some people on the surface, but it was very much like wait lists and sign up, and you know, it was just, it didn't come across to me. And let's be fair, I don't know that I would have accepted it either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I gotta look at both sides of it. But for me, when I was out there, my hustle was very low end. I was like a dumpster diver, crimes of opportunity. You know what I mean? I was not a, you know, hardcore gangster or anything. And but I had a lot of people that I knew. I knew a lot of people because I would always get things, right? I would always find things. And in my neighborhood, the Cubans were kind of ran the area. They ran all the dope through the neighborhood. So I would always go to them when I came up on something and give them something, and they'd always look out for me because I was always up to something. I was always, you know, just the chaos of being out there. It is what it is, you know. And this day I'd come out, and I had gotten lucky. I'd found a whole bunch of stuff. It was like electronics. I think it was like a suitcase I had found or something. So I go through my my area. I go to see them. I show it to them, and then I go. And when I showed it to them, they took something, and I think somebody saw it. I think I flashed too much. I was careless, right? So I go to my tunnel, which is on the train tracks, and if you maybe a couple 100 feet down on the train tracks, there's these 4 businesses, and if you didn't live in that area, know that area, you had no idea they were there. I don't even know they were legal, and they're all closed down now. So I leave my tunnel. I go to this business, the 4th business, and I say, hey. I drop off all this stuff. I've been using them for a long time. He's like, all right, cool, come back in a little bit. I'm like, all right. I leave. I go get high. I come back. It's dark. When I come back, there's 3 guys waiting for me. They were other guys that I was homeless with. They had kind of worked with the Cubans too, and I'd always had animosity with them over the years, and kind of like, you know, this weird version of competition, I guess. I don't know, whatever, right? And they had a pipe, a hatchet, and a knife. And I tell you this story really to tell you the exact nature of what I have. Because I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew I had no hope. But on the other side of them was my next fix. I had to have it. And I could justify my mind somehow, some way that I was going to get through them to get to. There was no chance. You know what I mean? But that's the exact nature of what it is that I have. I'm powerless. I have to do what I have to do to get the next one. You know what I mean? And so I did. They attacked me. They murdered me. They left me for dead in the train tracks. And they'd hit me in the head with the hatchet a couple times, the pipe, and stabbed me in my leg. And they had broken my jaw, lacerated my liver. But they dragged me onto the train tracks and they left me for dead. See, this is how God shows up in my life, right? And I use that word, right? Like, I'm not a religious guy. I'm a spiritual guy. I use that word for the simplicity of it. I know it's something bigger than me, right? And I don't say that to shortchange it either. But that first business, not the fourth, but the first business, I had cultivated a relationship with an overnight security guard. That security guard happened to be working that night. I had no idea he was there. He saw it all happen, called the cops. Cops come. They pull me off the train tracks. They revive me. As they revive me, the train comes. I still think I'm fighting for my life. They give me a shot of morphine for the pain because I'm screaming. I'm bloody all over the place. I die again. I wake up 3 days later in the hospital. I still think I'm fighting for my life, right? Now I'm strapped to a hospital bed on life support with the tubes and the robe and everything. And I've got this nurse yelling at me, and I say that lovingly because she was trying to calm me down because I was like pulling on all the wires. And I immediately felt a hand touch my forehead, and I heard the words "calm down." And I felt like the overwhelming presence of God in that room. And I'd never felt that before. And I say God meaning like the most peaceful, powerful feeling I ever felt in my life. It was just, so God came to me through a shot of life support on morphine in a hospital bed. And I say that because that's how he comes for me. He doesn't come on mountaintops, not yet anyway. You know what I mean? He comes in the moments that the moments that I think he won't, you know what I mean? That I don't expect it. He comes. And I was on life support for the next 3 to 5 days, and then I got transitioned into a physical therapy hospital for the next month. They couldn't wire my jaw shut because of the swelling of my brain was so bad.
Oh, wow.
They were afraid that I was going to throw up and choke. And I had a headache in the center of my brain for the next 3 months, and
Damn.
I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. You know what I mean? I was mumbling. I had like 4 teeth. I weighed 120 pounds, and God just kept showing up. So when I was out, I had, like I said, I'd been sober before and made a bunch of friends, and my mom back home in New Jersey was talking to them and talking to Paul, who's my best friend and our executive director and at Shine and Crossroads, and our vice president at Crossroads, I'm sorry. And he shows up in my hospital bed.
Paul?
And he started talking. And
What's his last name?
Vote your note.
Okay, just so he gets his, recognition.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And he... Really, I don't really remember much about what he said. I'm just going to be honest with you. But what I do remember is I had known him before when he wasn't doing so well.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, and I could not argue with the idea that something was clearly working in his life. You know what I mean? That was not working in mine. You know what I mean? And that's what stuck with me. You know what I mean? He offered me the treatment after I got out of the hospital, and I just said okay. And that was it. You know what I mean? I just started saying okay over and over and over again. And I went to that treatment center. That's where I was introduced to Shine a Light. At the time, it was, 4 or 5 volunteers a weekend. They were working out of his closet. And, I found my pathway to recovery, which works for me. And, you know what I mean? I started building a network of people and just showing up for me, showing up for the people around me. And, I always share this story. I don't know if you have time.
We got time. Go ahead.
I share this story about God, right? And I share this for anybody that may be struggling with the idea of it, right? And again, I told you my version of God is just something bigger than me. I find it wherever I'm at, and I told you about that experience in life support, right? So I hear that voice and I feel that feeling, and then fast forward about 6 months later, I'm in a sober living and I'm doing the deal, right? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I get a call from my sister who was... My father had left when I was 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, whatever. Goes on, marries, has a whole nother family. I never see him, never know him. He overdosed when I'm 14. Well, he has another family, my brother and sister. I found her as an adult, started to cultivate a relationship with her and my brother. So she calls me. She's crying. And I'm sitting on the patio of the sober living, and I go, She goes, "You're gonna think I'm crazy." I'm like, "I kind of think you are already," you know? But that's our relationship.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I called a psychic," and I'm like, "Oh my god, here we go." Closed off, right? I'm always closed
Yeah.
off. I'm always trying to put it in a box, right? And she goes, "I called this psychic. I told him my name. Mind you, she lives in New York." She's like, "I told him nothing else about me, Rob." She's like, "I told him my name." And he says, "Hold on, you lost somebody close to you, a father figure." She goes, "Yeah, my dad died when I think she was 6, 7 years old." She goes, "Yeah, he's coming through." He says, "Tell your brother I was with him in the hospital. If he doesn't get it this time, this is his last chance. He's going to be with me soon." Fast forward a couple years, 2 years after that, I go with some friends to get a tattoo. They're going to get a tattoo that I'm not going to get, you know, and so I go last. And I'm sitting in this tattoo shop and I'm looking, and he's got all these beautiful dragons on the wall. I love dragons, born in the year of the dragon, and they're beautiful, but they're just not calling to me. And I'm like, what's going on? Now, mind you, he's sitting where you're sitting, and I keep going over his shoulder. I don't know what it is. I keep getting drawn to over his shoulder, and there's this little scribble. It looks like a 7-year-old wrote it, and I keep looking at it, and finally I go, "Last chance, huh?" I leave. Something happened to his wife. He had to go. I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll come back." I'm driving away, and it hits me like a ton of bricks. The last chance. Hospital bed. Last chance. Psychic. Last chance. I go back to get the tattoo, right? I park my car like I parked out back of your building. It's like, I can't remember if it's yellow or red. It's like, whatever, one or the other, right? Back and forth. It's as tall as I am. Last chance tattoo shop. You walk inside, there's last chance. I don't know how I missed it. So God came to me through a shot of morphine, a psychic in New York, and a shop tattoo. Because I got it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how God came to me. You know what I mean? Like, and I say that because that's my God. You know what I mean? That's just, it's not how I ever thought it would be. My life is not what I thought it was going to be ever. I couldn't have even dreamed the life that I live today. It's not possible. I would have sold myself short 1,000,000 times over, just like I did with God.
Damn, Rob. That is wild. The psychic and the tattoo shop.
You know, God came to me through a receipt at Vaughn's.
Explain.
So worst day of my sobriety, wasn't even real. There was nothing wrong. Mental health. There was nothing wrong. Sunny day, I had money in the bank, all my bills are, all the things, beautiful life.
Yeah.
And I wake up, my head's on fire, and it's telling me that this is, all kinds of crazy stuff. And all I had left to do was that choice of get up and take some actions like I was been taught. And I did all those things. You know what I mean? Went to a couple spaces where I needed to go, talked to people, I reached out to people. The last thing I did is I went to Vaughn's to buy a bunch of food for a sober living that was having a meeting. I just wanted to do something nice for somebody, just anything to get this thing off me. And I bought everything I needed. I paid for it. I'm leaving. I look at the receipt, and it hits me like a ton of bricks. I'm 44 years old. It's the first time in my entire life I went to the store, bought everything I needed, and I had not one iota of doubt that I would be able to get through the rest of the week and pay my bills and everything. I was financially free from my alcoholism. First time in my life. So like, that's how God shows up for me. You know what I mean? These beautiful ways. If I stay open to it.
Yeah.
If I stay connected to you guys, if I stay trying to make this place better, right? Like the people around me, God shows up, dude.
That's beautiful. Now, so you get hit with the hatchet, you're in the hospital on life support. Paul comes, offers you sobriety help, help with your recovery. You get recovered. And then at that point, you said Shine the Light was just 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
On the weekends they would go. Was Paul one of those 4 or 5?
Oh, he's the founder as it is now. 100%.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then, so once you got back right, what was it, or what was the next move? I know you work Shine Light now, but like, what happened immediately? Did you like, hey, I want to come work with you, and how'd that come about?
So Paul had taken Shine over about a year before I came into the picture from a gentleman named Matt O'Brien. He was an author, and he was building relationships and doing some really great work and bringing out the news and making people aware of the situation. But he didn't really have the connections to get people off the streets other than using the safety net as it was, right?
Yeah.
So Paul takes it over, and then I come in, and Paul had met up with Jeff Iverson, who was the owner of Freedom House, and now obviously a part of Crossroads as well, and Shine. So they started to formulate the iPath, right, the program. So when I came in, there was no iPath, but it was get him into treatment, get him into sober living, get him connected with clinical, get him, you know what I mean? All these pieces, and case manage them.
Yeah.
So we started to do that, and I was one of the first ones they did it with. It wasn't called iPath at the time, but then we kind of, as we grew, we started to take that model into how do we really build out a pathway to help people get off and stay off the streets, but not necessarily like redesigning anything, right? Like we're connecting. All the services are there, and we're always looking for new ones and all that, but like we don't want to go out and build another treatment center, right? They're there.
Yeah.
But how do we get them all? And I say that because I went through detox 50 times.
Really?
50 times I went through detox and successfully completed.
Interesting. Wow.
So you get out of detox, then what? I'm the same person I was when I walked in the door. I don't have the resources. I don't know what to do. You give me a piece of paper and tell me to go here. So that place sent off somewhere and said, hey, look, 50 successful completions, right? But meanwhile, what was the outcome? I still went on to be homeless for 5 years and overdosed 15 times. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do we, and this is where Paul was really genius with it, was that he switched the narrative to let's focus on the outcome, because the outcome is a human life. And if we're not doing that, what are we doing? You know what I mean? So looking at that, we have that board at the office where all our clients are at within the community and all our community partners. And like, we're trying to get to the end. Independent housing, successful, where you're still texting me. You know what I mean? My favorite stories is, and I gravitate towards certain stories. They're just my stories. You know, I love them. You know what I mean? I believe in them. And there's a gentleman named Matt. He came in and he had a very similar story, some head trauma. He had been attacked too. And he struggled with readjusting to society. Like, it took me a month to learn how to sleep in a bed. You know what I mean? A month to learn how to sleep in a bed. Like, and that list goes on and on. All the things. So he comes in, he goes through detox, he's in treatment, and we were able to walk him through it. And the beautiful thing is, like, a lot of our community partners are either volunteers with us or they're our friends. You know what I mean? Like, we're really a community, and we're really trying to support them. So we get them through that, and then where Shine comes in, once they're done with treatment, we're paying for their sober living. So we connect him with one of our community partners, and because of our relationships, he went through 7 different houses. He never got kicked out for getting high. He never punched anybody. He just couldn't get along. He couldn't get along. So each time they called us, we had no street policy, right? Because the safety net, what's the point of having a safety net if you can slip through the holes?
Yeah.
How do we keep you connected to that safety net? Knowing that your story and my story might be very different. We're still human beings that deserve help, right? So how do I help you have your journey and me have my journey, right? And Matt had his journey. Fast forward, that 7th house, something clicked. I couldn't tell you what it was.
Yeah.
That's between him and God. I have no idea. Because all those houses he was in were great houses. Maybe it was the guys. Maybe somebody there looked like his uncle. There. I don't know. But it's beautiful. You know what I mean? And, you know, fast forward 2.5 years later, he just stood me up for lunch last week. We text each other every morning, motivational memes. He's in the union. He lives with another one of our graduates in their own house and has a car. You know what I mean? And his pathway is very different than mine too. Still a human being.
Yeah.
Who cares? You know what I mean? And he knows if he slips even now, come to us, call us, talk to me. You're struggling, call me. Like, that's 2.5 years down the road. There's no money in the game here now. This is just human connection. You know what I mean? That's what we want. That's an outcome. He's giving back to society, helpful, right? Like, there can be no more beautiful transformation than that.
And some of those programs you mentioned, you said Freedom House?
I went through Freedom House.
What exactly, for those listeners, I mean, I don't even know exactly what those companies do and how they help.
You have a couple different layers. So your detox would be Crossroads, right?
Okay, so Crossroads is the detox.
Crossroads is the largest indigent detox and treatment center in the state of Nevada.
Okay.
So we deal primarily with your homeless population, Medicaids, specialty courts, a lot of different things, but primarily your homeless population. You know, less low income comes to us because of Medicaid. And then the next step up would be either inpatient. So you've got Freedom House, West Care, Crossroads.
Okay.
Then you've got housing with treatment, which is those same facilities, and then sober livings. So there's kind of tiers to the community as far as you're talking about the level of involvement, the level of treatment, the level of accountability. So you're working your way into a looser.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you could explain a little bit exactly what Shine a Light actually does.
So Shine a Light is a two-part foundation.
Okay.
All right. So we're outreach, and on our outreach, I use the term layers a lot now. I think as we've grown, so our outreach is technically what you would think it was, right? Every Saturday we're out in the tunnels, the washes, in the community, but throughout the week we're at the courtyard. We're, at anywhere in the community events, talking to people anywhere we can be to make people aware. Because like I said, I lived for a year before I even knew where resources were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could walk out of this office right now and find weed, probably a strip club, a lawyer, but I'm not in crisis when I need those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the insanity of it, right? Because there's no money in helping the homeless. Right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. So outreach within the community, and we're everywhere, all over. And we've got a great team: Brent, George, Danica, all of them over there. I'm going to forget somebody, I know it. Brian, amazing, and Jamie. So I'm going to get in trouble. I got to mention these names. No, that's the outreach side of it, and the important piece is behind it. What doesn't get the same amount of notoriety is the continuity case management afterwards, right? So imagine if me and you go to dinner tonight. We park next to each other. We go inside, and you go, "Hey, you got a bunch of phone calls. You forgot where we parked." Now we're with a large group of people, and I say, "I got you. I'm going to show you where you parked." I look good in front of everybody, right? Then we walk out, and I go about halfway, and I go, "Oh, wait a minute, I forgot something inside." And I go back inside, and I don't never come back out.
Yeah.
Is that helping you?
No.
That's
Lost.
not. There's no continuity. That's a broken chain, right? And that's what happens in the safety net, unfortunately. You go here, you go there because of silos or people not working together. How do we? And this is Paul's greatest idea, right? Was continuity case management. We are going to be the person that case manages you through the whole process. We have amazing community partners. So how do we connect all of you together? It's us. So we can go to your facility. We're not changing anything they're doing. They've been there for years. They know what they're doing. We're going to help, assist, be another voice, right? And meet with that client. So that client knows they have more support. And then as they're going through that process in the facility, they know what their plan is next. They know if they got an issue, they have an outside voice they can call and talk to and come in and help. You know what I mean? And then the facilities themselves. A van broke down at one of the facilities a month and a half ago. They called us and said, "Hey, we can't do a DMV run." We're like, "How many people?" 3 people. We're on our way. And we can help that facility. You know what I mean? That's making the community better because they're doing great work. You know what I mean? And how do we walk them through the whole process? And the entire time, then the involvement is we have the safe space, the offices, the meetings, the volunteer times, all the different stuff to get them involved. And it's dinners and lunches and events out in the community where they get to see us further down the path, pulling them along and getting them where they, you know what I mean? Instilling that hope that they can do it too. You know what I mean? In a multitude of different ways, you know?
One thing, when I went out there and volunteered that time, you mentioned, maybe Paul mentioned, you guys mentioned how sometimes when you go out there, obviously there's people who don't want the help.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit of why the people don't want help or why, they enjoy just staying there, and what does it take to finally, or what's the goal when we do go down there?
So I think it's really it's important to not assume that we have any idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's be fair. Who knows? You know what I mean? Think about a point in your life anywhere. Why did I make that commitment to go to the gym, but I never went? And here we are a year later.
Yeah.
Why? Something, right? And homelessness is very much the same, but you're dealing with so many different layers, right? So it's the addiction by nature is the disease of no choice. I don't have a choice, right? I would have much rather have had somebody come down to my tunnel and touch me on the forehead and relieve me of all this and go on and live a beautiful life, right? But something that Paul has instilled in us, and I've stolen for myself too when I go out, is that think about it like this. If I came to you right now and I said, "Listen, you got a nice life, the studio's great, love your life. I'm going to show you how to live a better life than this. All I need you to do is leave everything right now and come with me. I'm going to give you a completely different life." You couldn't do it. Most people couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Why is it any different for them? I just told you earlier, it became very primal, right? It means that my life became very small over time. So much so that my backpack was my entire world. That was it. I didn't need anything else. So that guy laying on that little mattress that's his camp. That's his world. That's where he exists. You're asking him to give up everything he knows. Now think about it. If I told you, listen, I'm going to need you to be a commentator for the NFL starting tomorrow. Here's your scripts. We're flying you here. Here's your schedule. Like, if I just started dumping all these things, like these massive commitments for you right now, because that's exactly what we're doing to them in a way, right?
Yeah.
Leave everything you know. Come with me. You know us on Saturdays. But come into this treatment center. Do clinical. Do this. Eat 3 meals. Be around people. Like, it's a massive ask when you think about it like that. It's a massive ask. And then you've got to catch them at the right time when they're ready.
Yeah.
Maybe they had something happen. Maybe that's the day. Who knows? You never know. We call it chopping wood. We're just going to go out there and make sure they know that we're there, build relationships. And every time I see them, I go a little further. Hey, how's your brother doing? Hey, how you doing? Da, da, da. Like, push him. I grew up in New Jersey. I got a lot of sarcasm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so a lot of mine is banter and joking around. And, you know, there's a lady that whenever she sees me, she'll say, "Is that Rob? Today's the day, Rob. I'm going to kick your ass." And she comes out with these hands. And then as soon as she sees me, we hug and she cries. She's never asked for help. She's never even tried. I've tried. But what she has done is like, "Hey, go check on that person over there. Hey, there's a girl over here you can't see. She's struggling." So she's almost become an advocate us because we're authentic, right?
Yeah.
Because we stay in that space. And like, because if I tell you I'm going to take you to the hospital and bring you back, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go drop you off at detox. And no, like, if you don't want to, I'm not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. You know what I mean? But we care.
Yeah.
And we have to like stick with that narrative over and over and over again. And it's hard work because people in crisis, you know what I mean? They're going through it. But we believe that it's the work that needs to be done.
No, it definitely is. Because, man, when I went down there, like I said, it was definitely life-changing in the sense, like, I've been homeless before, but it's just a different experience.
Yeah.
And it was cool. You know, like you guys broke it down to us, like kind of you just said now, like, we're not expecting to go down there and just save the whole world. It's about planting those seeds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Building that relationship with them so they can start, you know, building trust and just knowing they have somebody as opposed to feeling so alone.
Well, we know it's a human feeling, right? Like I can think about my life at different times when maybe I was going through something and I was less willing to ask for help, less trusting, felt shame, right? Outside of my addiction, just like normal everyday life, right? And that finally got to a place where I was willing to humble myself to ask for help. Same thing out there. Same thing.
Now that you're 6 years sober, congratulations, man. You just hit 6 years on August 10th, you said?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
I'm about 2.5 years alcohol free, about a year sober, and 6 years, man. That's especially with heroin, because to my knowledge, the numbers of heroin, like the not rebound, but the what's the word I'm looking for?
Relapse?
Yes, the
Recidivism?
relapse is
Yeah.
like a high percentage of people. From one of my old friends, he is now, I think, 12 years, and he would tell me the numbers of the chances of you relapsing are pretty high when it comes to heroin.
I think opiates in general, because of the physical nature of it, the physical, you know what I mean? It's difficult, but clearly not impossible. You
No,
know what I mean?
definitely.
And yeah, I don't miss that.
Now that you are on this path of, you know, sobriety and being an advocate for the community and helping people who, in a sense, were in your shoes, how's your mental health now?
Oh, obviously in a much better place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I still have my moments, and there's still things. Recovery does not mean that I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that I don't struggle. It doesn't mean I don't have my issues. I think what recovery means for me is that I've been taught some tools and have the people around me that I can walk through just about anything. I can walk through anything. I can, you know, and I have, you know what I mean? My life is so busy and so full and tons of responsibilities and commitments, and I love it. You know what I mean?
When you do have those episodes, what are some of the tools or things you kind of go to use to help you not want to go back to the heroin? Or is heroin not even a thought in your mind anymore?
For me, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. You know what I mean? Not that if I stop doing this, it won't, right? I understand that too, but I'm not somebody that really has a whole lot of thoughts about it. Like fleeting, it's never been, I've never obsessed about it in my recovery. I've been pretty lucky, you know what I mean? But for me, I struggle sometimes with, I shouldn't even say struggle. I walk through moments where I have some depression, you know, but it's never been crippling where, I'm not the guy that's laying in bed and can't get out of bed. That's never really been me. It's more of like a mood thing, or I'll become quiet. But I think for me, it's important to understand that, like, that's okay. It's okay. I got a lot on my plate. I got a really beautiful life, but it's also okay to remember that, with all that comes the pressures and all stuff that I wouldn't trade for in a million years. But there's nothing in life is all good. It comes with other things. There's always a cost. And, you know, when the depression hits me, I'm mindful. I'm honest. I keep my feet moving, but I'm honest. And if I need to slow down, I need to slow down, and that's it, And I've always stayed really busy, though. That's a big thing for me. I have. Like, the people around me have kept me really busy, and now that I'm kind of, well into this thing, I enjoy it. I found, like, my purpose, which
Yeah.
is definitely a helpful thing. And then I continue to find my purpose, right? It continues the layers, right? It's not, I don't want to be in the tunnels every Saturday. I want to be the guy that's out talking about this so we can get more of this, or, I want to, all of it. You know what I mean?
So when it comes to the tunnels and the volunteers that come out there every Saturday, and I think when I went, there was probably like 10 of us. What are some things like, I don't want to say the benefits of going and volunteering, but what are some things people can gain? Like, what's like would it change their perspective on life? Like, what's the experience like for people?
All that, 100%. I think what always gets missed out on, right, is like, for me, in service is where I built my life.
Yeah.
In service, I found my people, and I continue to find my people. I never thought at, when I first started doing it, at, 3, 4 months sober, that I would be volunteering with judges and, yourself and,
Yeah.
Leadership Las Vegas, that I'd be a part of it. And all the people that I've met, but when they're there, they're just volunteers. You may find out down the whatever, right? But senators, and I mean, it's just like, that's insane for a guy it's a lifelong heroin addict to think that, like, in service to other people. I just believe you live your life in service, God blesses you. I just believe that, right? Like, in so many ways, over and over and over again, right? So if I just focus on that, he's got all the rest. And he just keeps putting, like, all the different relationships and opportunities that came that I was not seeking. I was just showing up to do this, happen because I got out of myself to give to somebody else, and boom. One of my favorite stories from the tunnels, right? Like, I get a call from Jeff one day. He tells me to meet some of his friends that he sent out for the tunnels. I'm like, all right. They pulled up and they're, fancy cars and belt buckles. And I said, oh my God, here we go. Again, I'm
Yeah.
closing myself off, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We walk into the first tunnel. I was nice and everything. Got him in. I sit down with the first person. I kid you not, for the next hour, all I heard was my name called. It's the most successful day I've ever had in the tunnels. 10 people. Gucci belts, Audis. And I say that to tell you, like, how little I really know.
Mm.
How much more I have to learn, and how easily I can become closed off to what God's trying to do in my life. Let me just help. You know what I mean? And, like, over and over and over again, dude. Like, there's just, I could spend the next 4 hours talking about easily the blessings that, you know what I mean, of my life that, like, have happened through me not thinking about them. Let me just go help this guy. Let me just go do this. Let me do the next right thing. All the things you hear. And I look back, I'm like, oh, wow, I got a cool life. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? I was at the Super Bowl, dude.
Where are
with
you?
my best friend.
The one that was here?
Yeah.
The last one? Really?
Like, I was at the Super because of Julie Kane, of course.
God, Julie's amazing, man.
Everywhere.
She's everywhere.
She's
I love
the
her.
busiest woman in the business.
Yeah.
But her and my best friend, dude, at the Super Bowl in our hometown. Like, I'm a lifelong heroin addict, dude. Lived in a tunnel 6 years ago, hoping to die. Like, that's what recovery can do for you. You know what I mean? If you're willing to do it. Like, in whatever pathway. Like, I got a lot of friends who I love to death, who have all different pathways. All I care about is that you're trying to be better, trying to help people, you're trying to be a better person. That's it.
Damn, that's beautiful. The fucking Super Bowl, bro. And you
And,
were
like,
on
that's-
heroin in the damn tunnel.
100%. Hoping to die, dude. Like my mom, this is what's infinitely more important than a Super Bowl to me.
Yeah.
Is that my mom can be proud of me. Like my mom can, that's really what, like the social media stuff, like that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, my mom's watching, dude. My mom didn't sleep for 42 years because of me. So like anything I do, like I send it to her, I text it to her, I show her. I want her, like, because I want her to be able to enjoy the rest of her life knowing she can be proud of her son.
Mm.
That's the greatest gift of my sobriety. She don't have to worry about me. She don't have to worry about nothing. I can be her eldest son. I can be, you know what I mean? Those things I can show up for my family like I could never do before. I can be a friend. Like the list goes on and on.
What would you say, or what's the goal next for Shine a Light? Because it went from 4 to 5 people in the closet, you said, to now you guys have office space. You guys have a lot of volunteers, but now, workers, people, I'm sure on payroll and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's now the next goal or, overall mission for Shine a Light?
The continued growth, obviously, I think we were looking for more contracts. We got North Las Vegas. We're a pilot program with them, like I told you earlier, and we work with the specialty courts. We've got a contract with them to case manage their clients, and we're trying to get in with the city possibly and see what we can do and just offer up what we do, right? Because
Yeah.
we believe that we have the stats and the numbers to show people that this is actually working. We believe that we've unlocked the safety net. That's really what we've done. We've unlocked it, made it possible because we're the ones navigating the people through it. Nobody's doing that right now. This place is here, this place is there, and there's some, veins.
Yeah.
But how do you? Because if you come to me for help, I want to be able to offer what you need, not what he needs. Because the guy that came in before me, if I had to have his journey, I'd be dead. He wasn't a heroin addict. He wasn't an addict at all. He was somebody that was born in Puerto Rico before 1965. Hurricane comes through Puerto Rico, wipes it out before they digitalized it. He doesn't know. Comes to America on a trip or something, gets his luggage stolen. Can't prove he's even an American citizen. He served in the military.
Oh, wow.
So how do we, those are two different pictures, right? So the idea is we want to be the framework and help you paint your picture. Because as it is now, it's like, again, I'm a visual learner, right? I think about this a lot. It's like a lot of people want to break out the spray gun and paint it one coat and go, look, Ma, new fresh paint on the house. But that's not personal. What if I don't fit in that box? What do I do? We want to paint pictures. So your picture is your picture. Your picture and my picture might have the same exact colors, but look very differently. But within the framework of the safety net as we see it, you know what I mean? And constantly building out that framework to be more and more services, more ways to help people, because this is a very diverse city. There's lots of different problems, a lot of different situations. And how do we, you know what I mean? We cultivated our Wings program, which is something we're super proud of. Danika's doing an amazing job. She, Shine graduate client, goes on to run our women's program. Connected women with We Care, which is the oldest women's inpatient facility in town. I think it's like 10 to 12 beds. A lot of women that we love and care about got sober there. And they reached out to us, said they were, looking for referral sources. They were struggling, and Paul put together the Wings program. And it's that. Then they go into Marcy Davis or Linda Dressel, sober living, two of the strongest women's sober livings with structure, while connected with Debbie Isaacs at Unshakables, right? This is a program. Then it's yoga, it's sound baths, it's healing, it's movie nights, it's strong women around women, helping women for 5 to 6 months before they're even introduced into, hey, you know what I mean, the community, because women have a different experience than men. That's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So how do we cut out these pathways within the iPath? Because they're all Shine clients, they're all getting the same treatment, they all have the same services offered to them, but how do we cater it? Because maybe you have different needs.
Damn. And so people who are, we're going to wrap up here shortly, but people who are listening, how can they help shine the light? In what kind of way, helps?
So we're always looking for, we're a nonprofit. We're always
Yeah.
looking for donations. You can check out our socials, Shine a Light LV,
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, all the things, and become a monthly donor would be great. You know what I mean? I think about this a lot. Like, I don't know how many $10, $20, $50 a month donations paid for my scholarship through Freedom House. I wouldn't be here without those scholarships. And I could never thank all the people. So like, hopefully I'm just going to continue to give back as an amends. You know what I mean? That's all I can do. But a lot of people put together that thought they couldn't make a difference with their $20, $30 and save my life. So donate, monthly donations, supplies. We're always looking for supplies, socks, water, granola bars. That's on the site as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for you, as we wrap up, I ask everybody this question at the end: is what's a piece of advice you can give somebody who's trying to transform and grow as a person?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that for me, it's always remain teachable and willing. You know what I mean? Remain teachable and willing. You know what I mean? Like, and give yourself grace. Fall forward. Paul says that a lot. Fall forward. I made a lot of mistakes along the way
Yeah.
that I've had to clean up. And, not egregious, but like especially in the recovery pathway, you're learning who you are. I learned how to be a human being at 42 years old. You know what I mean? So I didn't know what I enjoyed. I didn't know how to interact with people. And, it takes a while. And this is a slow process, but it's worth it, right? Like, it's an investment. You know what I mean? Like, freedom isn't free. It's not free. Freedom from the bondages of mental health and addiction is not free. You have to put in some work, and it's not going to be quick. It's not.
Not going to be pretty either.
Yeah. But it's worth it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on here, sharing your story, sharing about Shine the Light. I'm definitely sure people are going to see this and it's going to change their lives, to see where you were, heroin addict, living in a tunnel under Las Vegas, to now at the Super Bowl with your best friend. That's literally a transformation and growth in itself. Thank you so much for coming on today, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
I will put his Instagram, the Shine a Light Foundation, their Instagram also on the details, the description of this podcast. If you're out there, please donate to them. Like he said, that $10 went a long way. Another reminder is that the work that's required to help you improve as a person isn't supposed to be pretty, isn't supposed to feel good. It's going to be very uncomfortable. That doesn't mean you avoid it. One thing I love to live by is be a bison. Go through and towards the storm. On the other side is greatness, baby. 2 words for you. Keep growing.